As part of our how-to series, we're going to look at a simple logic exercise that can open up many doors for you in working through your doubt column. Of the three columns, the doubt column tends to have the most overall information in it that needs to be addressed, as each of you, if you think about it, has hundreds of questions, points of confusion, fears, or garden variety lack of certainty. While science is a prerequisite, it is in the logic that we get to full certainty. One way to engage with the logic, as I will show you in this video today, is to lay out two theories side by side and see which one is more likely to be true. As you do this, you will hone your theories more and more and come to feel greater comfort with certainty about the ones that survive. This episode addresses that general concept, but also how to master what I refer to as level 1 doubt. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below and we will get back to you personally. And finally, you can reserve your place in one of my seminars or purchase any of my mind-body guides, also known as the PDFs, at www.crushingdoubt.org. Now, without further ado, let's turn our attention to how to evaluate different theories through logic. As I continue to listen to all of your questions and reflect back on my own experience with mind-body experience, it is consistently the case that what everyone wants to know about any aspect of the work is, how do I do it? At times, I use these videos to get right to the heart of a specific issue and exactly that. How to deal with it. How to proceed. How to make progress. The center of much of mind-body work is in resolving doubt. While each column is very crucial to parts of the experience, it is doubt that keeps things stuck in the same place and hinders the progress of the other columns. I've already discussed in a previous video how to get your doubts articulated, and this is absolutely the first step you must take in getting doubts resolved. Remember, the job is not to not have doubt. The job is to get to a place of no doubt on as many issues as you can through science and logic. But it can't be faked. You must believe the self-talk in considering how to master doubts. Once you have identified a doubt and gotten it well articulated, then it is time to engage with it directly. Today we will focus on one way I have of using logic to dismantle any doubt. Here is what I often do for myself and recommend you utilizing as well. Once you have the doubt well articulated, it is in good shape to be scrutinized. How do we do this? One of the best things we can do is to lay out two distinct theories that directly answer the doubt, whether to our satisfaction or not. We just want to compare two answers and see which one is closer to being true with science and logic. As we do this, we can get closer and closer to a true theory. And we must be ferocious in our view of what is logical and what is not. We must not fall into what we wish was true, or what would be easier to be true, or what everyone else thinks is true. If a theory doesn't make a whole lot of sense, if it relies on randomness or an easy acceptance of we don't know, it isn't a good theory. We can do better. If a theory is true some of the time, but not all of the time, it's still no good. If it can't explain things from every angle, it is no good. Use this way of thinking to look at different theories to determine what actually makes sense. When it comes to mind-body work, I find, and this is of great relief to me and gives me increasing great certainty, that the mind-body theory is always superior to the other ones. The other ones tend to focus on only one part of experience, but mind-body theories, done well anyways, capture the whole ball of wax. It is important to note that, when people look back after recovering, they can often marvel at the things they used to believe, many of which the massive majority of society still believes. I hear your average person now talk about pain, and they honestly sound as blind as a bat to me. When you have mastered mind-body experience, you almost can't help but look back and laugh at some of the previous thinking you may have had. I was convinced, because of direct physical experience, that it somehow made sense that I could not lie on one side of my body without causing a spasm, and this was true for years. Why would that possibly be? It was clearly true in actuality, but why would it rationally make sense that it was true? The only answer was the mind causing changes in the body, because from a physical standpoint, the act of lying down on one side causing that problem was preposterous. It wasn't like the pressure point of where I was lying was causing pain. And even that, I'd have to ask, how was it possible that that was lasting for years? In lining up two theories effectively, it is crucial to bring the very real consideration that what seems eminently plausible could end up being one of the most outlandish theories you've ever had. We need true, full openness of exploration if we're going to discover the scientific and logical truth. And we will have no idea when we are caught in a faulty theory or self-deception if we can't consider if we might be caught in one. This is the one time where you must actually learn to doubt. First, we learn to doubt the right things. Then we learn to have certainty from having had that doubt and looked at it with an objective eye. Let's look at an example so you can see what I mean and how to apply lining up two theories side by side to get some answers. One example comes in level 1 doubt. And I am pulling this out of thin air because it is one of hundreds of thousands of doubts with which one could come up. Let's take the theory that your pain is being caused by an original injury that keeps getting re-aggravated, and as such, never gets to heal. Line up the reality of the two theories with mind-body being on one side. Theory 1, the non-mind-body theory, says, I had an original physical injury, and it is in such a location, or the body is vulnerable enough to this in general, that I keep re-injuring the site, and it has, as a result, never gotten better. This isn't a ridiculous theory, at least not at first glance. It certainly fits with the data we have on the symptom experience. It isn't seeming to heal, and it does seem that we are re-injuring it frequently because, generally speaking, we are not always in pain, and then a sudden movement seems to elicit it. Not a bad theory at all, and I understand why so many would subscribe to it. But that is before we bring in theory 2, the mind-body theory. This is a mind-body experience where my emotions and belief systems perpetuate the symptoms, and as such, they never get better. More specifically, I am having a mind-body experience where a painful emotional experience was paired with a physical event to create actual, real physiological pain. After that, my belief system continues the mechanism, and as a result, the pain has never really stopped. My belief system allows it to get better at times because I believe that things at least could heal, but I panic every time I feel a twinge of something and assume I am injuring it and should stop moving, leading to a cycle of fear that cements the experience and continues it without any way of ending it if I cannot see the mind-body reality. So that was theory 2. Everything in the way theory 1 looks and feels is captured in theory 2. Nothing is left out. Theory 2 essentially covers all of the ground that theory 1 does, but it doesn't have any scientific or logical holes in it. Theory 1 is actually riddled with them upon close examination. The science alone is pretty damning of theory 1. After all, have you ever heard of someone having a cut that just never healed? That has never happened in the history of human experience. It has also never happened in the animal kingdom. It does not happen in nature. There are injuries that cannot be healed, but only to organs that cannot be healed at all. Or there can be catastrophic damage to something that results in death, like when a plant is ripped from the ground and will not survive, or, of course, when people or animals die. But while there is thriving life, the rules of the universe apply to any and all. Not only that, but study after study shows that structural issues aren't correlated with chronic pain. So the very idea that structural issues and injuries cause chronic pain is already debunked. So theory 1 already has a massive strike against it just with science. But when we get to the logic of things, theory 1 really falls apart. Let's look at many of the questions that come up that theory 1 can't answer. How is it that so many people do heal, but I don't? Maybe I am especially vulnerable to this kind of thing because we can carry this out as far as we want, but the minute the word maybe comes in, we should know the theory is in trouble. Now we've had to move on to a second theoretical construct just to support the first, and it didn't take long at all. This is not the sign of an actually good theory. Another question, and a better constructed one to hide from logical thinking, though still ultimately ineffective. Why do so many people in the human race suffer from chronic pain if we aren't so vulnerable to such injuries? Remember, line up the two theories when dealing with any question. This question begins to falter very easily, actually, with a counter question. Why are so many people in the human race not in chronic pain? Now the seemingly brilliant first question is much more muddled, simply from requiring it to adhere to logic. If it does not apply in all situations, why should we believe it so strongly? We are going to need to reconsider this question with a more discriminating eye now. Ask yourself this: does the question, why are so many people in the human race in chronic pain, get answered better by Theory 1 or Theory 2? At the very least, you cannot logically argue that Theory 2, mind-body theory, answers it any worse. To combat Theory 2, the mind-body theory, you have to attack it at its very source. Maybe mind-body theory is just wrong in general. It's not, but that's where you'd have to attack it. To combat Theory 1, you can attack it virtually anywhere, because it is patently untrue, in many cases, in even a cursory review of logic and scientific data. This is strike 2 against the first theory. It has science against it, and its logic is immensely flawed and requires secondary theories to back it up, all which prove to engage in greater and greater conjecture, speculation, and even twisted logic just to remain standing. Mind-body theory, meanwhile, holds up from every angle, because it is correct and true, especially if the specific mind-body conceptualization has been run through every question imaginable in an effort to come to the truth. My 3 columns are designed to do just that. The columns came directly from every question I could think of, and the thousands of others that were brought to me from you guys. This is a theory that holds up to scrutiny not only because it is right, but because it was constructed on a solid foundation that never crossed into potential illogic even once. This is why I am so certain about things, because I let doubt do the work of bringing up all the right questions, and still the answers hold together. Theories like structural ones are faulty because there wasn't enough doubt brought in the first place, and as such, many questions have gone unasked, let alone having been answered. This is a clear third strike against theories that claim things that end up in conjecture or more theorizing. It is a sign that true doubt was never let in, and a bias towards a certain understanding has, temporarily, won the day. But we're not done flogging these theories as they should be. This isn't baseball, so there can be a fourth strike. These theories ask you to ignore mind-body theory, if they are to be true. Think about it. Of the 2 theories, one asks you to believe the other is not true just because. This is the kind of thing that makes me laugh now, because it is so clear once I let myself ask the question. We are now mounting a fiercely logical argument that is revealing how vastly superior mind-body theory is to the other ones. The great advantage we have with logic is that we never have to stop exploring it until we are satisfied. A theory that is correct holds up from all angles because, well, it is actually correct. A theory that is not correct may sound pretty, but it is never going to stand up to logic. You may need to recognize an uncomfortable fact at times to utilize the 2-theory comparison model, but it isn't that hard to swallow. We are all illogical all the time. But if we commit to working towards logic, we get there anyways. And this is a major reason why fear and doubt can always be conquered, because the truth is actually on our side. I really hope you enjoyed this episode on how to look at different theories through a logical lens to come to certainty about your mind-body experience. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally.